To understand the rise of Ibrahim Traoré, one must go back to when Burkina Faso was still called Upper Volta. In 1960, amidst a continental wave of decolonization, Upper Volta gained independence from France. But the joy of liberation was short-lived. The nation's first president, Maurice Miogo, quickly turned autocratic, banning opposition, jailing critics, and filling government positions with his relatives. Though the French had officially left, their influence lingered through advisors who controlled much of the administration and military. By 1966, the people had had enough. Economic hardship, austerity, and repression pushed the country into revolt. On January 3rd, the military, led by Lieutenant Colonel Sango Lamazana, stepped in and ousted Miogo. Lamazana promised a new dawn but soon began consolidating power himself, suspending the constitution, banning parties, and ruling as a military dictator. Despite promises of reform, nothing truly changed. Political instability continued, and a new generation of leaders emerged from military academies. Among them was a young cadet with radical ideas and revolutionary dreams, Thomas Sankara. Sankara's Revolution and Betrayal. Thomas Sankara, influenced by socialist ideologies and Pan-African thinkers, believed in self-reliance and liberation from neo-colonial control. In 1983, following years of unrest and his own imprisonment, he led a popular and bloodless coup with support from his comrade Blaise Compaoré. At just 33, Sankara became the head of state. He wasted no time, renaming the country Burkina Faso, meaning land of upright people, launching vaccination and literacy campaigns, banning female genital mutilation, and slashing the salaries and privileges of government elites. He rejected aid from institutions like the IMF, exposed corruption, and preached Pan-African unity. But such boldness came at a price. Western powers, particularly France, viewed Sankara as a threat. Within his own circle, betrayal brewed. On October 15, 1987, Blaise Compaoré, once his closest ally, staged a coup, murdering Sankara and dismantling the revolution. A boy named Ibrahim. 5 months after Sankara's assassination, Ibrahim Traoré was born on March 14, 1988, in the rural village of Gela. His family lived modestly and endured the economic decline that followed Compaoré's pro-Western policies. The military government restored ties with France, welcomed the IMF, and handed the nation's wealth, especially its gold mines, to foreign investors. Meanwhile, the people grew poorer. Traoré watched his homeland unravel and dreamed of something better. He joined the army in 2009, trained as an officer, and by 2012 was sent to Morocco for advanced military training. Later, he would fight in northern Mali under the UN peacekeeping mission, gaining frontline experience that would shape him into a skilled and respected soldier. A country at the brink. Back in Burkina Faso, Compaoré's rule was disintegrating. After 27 years in power, he attempted to change the constitution to stay even longer. But in October 2014, a furious populace stormed the parliament and burned it to the ground. Compaoré fled the country in disgrace. Hopes soared for a new beginning, but progress was slow and painful. Terrorist insurgencies spread like wildfire across the north. Civilians were slaughtered, soldiers lacked weapons, morale collapsed, and once again, Western allies offered little more than empty promises. The coup that changed everything. By 2022, public frustration exploded. Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba ousted the president in a coup, promising to restore order. Traoré, then a captain, supported this move. But months later, nothing improved. Soldiers were still dying. Villages were still under siege. Damiba was suspected of secret negotiations with foreign powers and failing the nation. Then came the final spark. A convoy ambushed in the north, leaving 11 soldiers and 50 civilians dead. On September 30th, 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traoré led a second coup. It was swift, strategic, and largely bloodless. By October 2nd, he was declared head of state. At just 34 years old, the youngest leader in the world. The Red Beret Revolution, unlike his predecessors, Traoré refused to promote himself to general. He kept his rank as captain. He declined a presidential salary. He wore his red beret with pride and returned often to the front lines, visiting troops and speaking little in public, letting actions speak for him. He launched a massive campaign to enlist 50,000 civilian volunteers into auxiliary defense units. Within weeks, thousands signed up to protect their villages from extremists. On the economic front, he cracked down on illegal gold smuggling, banned new export licenses, and approved the construction of Burkina Faso's first state-run gold refinery, a direct challenge to foreign companies that had long plundered the country's natural resources. A new world order. Traoré didn't stop there. He expelled French troops, suspended French media, and removed the French ambassador. He publicly distanced Burkina Faso from Western influence, drawing closer to Russia, China, and neighboring revolutionary states like Mali and Niger. Together, the three nations formed the Alliance of Sahel States, a new regional bloc rejecting ECOWAS interference and foreign control. It was a bold rejection of neocolonialism. The legacy continues. Like Thomas Sankara before him, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has become a symbol of African pride, defiance, and possibility. But like Sankara, he is also a target. Assassination plots, political pressure, and international smear campaigns seek to derail his movement. Still, he stands firm. Whether one agrees with his methods or not, the message is clear. Burkina Faso belongs to its people. Not to France, not to the IMF, and not to global powers hungry for gold. As the Red Beret soldier walks through a land his predecessors sold piece by piece, he carries with him the hopes of a continent and the ghost of Sankara whispering through the trees. He who feeds you controls you. Now, Traoré is determined to make sure Burkina Faso feeds itself, and no one else controls its future. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the man the West fears the most. Between August 2020 and July 2023, a political storm swept through West Africa. In a wave of bold military takeovers, the governments of Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Niger were overthrown by men in uniform. Men who claimed they wanted to rescue their nations from decades of poverty, corruption, and foreign manipulation. What followed shook the foundations of neocolonial influence. Western powers were booted out of several African nations in humiliating fashion, their long-held control challenged by a new breed of African leaders. At the heart of this new movement stood a small, landlocked country, Burkina Faso, and a young military officer whose name would soon echo across the continent and beyond. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, loved by many and feared by more. Traoré's rise to power has not only inspired a generation of young Africans, but has also deeply unsettled Western capitals. His mission? To restore dignity, self-reliance, and sovereignty to Burkina Faso. But such a mission is not without enemies. Since taking power, Captain Traoré has survived at least 18 assassination attempts. So, who is this little-known soldier-turned-president? And how did he come to symbolize Africa's latest revolutionary wave? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below with your thoughts.